don't have to do that. you don't have to do that. That's just not how that works here.
All right. In 3, 2. Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video. I've got special guest Brian from Stage 0. How you doing, Brian?
Good.
Good.
It's been a long weekend.
Yes, we are literally still in the venue. We're like the only ones here. There might be one more announcement or two over the intercom. We'll hear those together.
I hope not.
Yeah, we hope not to.
They already said the last, get out the building.
Most people are gone, except for literally us.
Yeah.
So it's probably fine.
Not too bad.
We won't get kicked out. But we have the top 32 deck list for the regionals that happened this weekend. Really unique kind of format for it. It was the new restrictions without Star Deck 10, and we do have the top 32 on this one. So real quick, too, before you guys start, make sure to subscribe to not only my channel, but also Brian's.
Me?
Yeah, you.
I guess so, huh?
Yeah, I guess so, huh? But also, we do have the VOD for it, with also just big shout-outs to Risu and Human for doing the commentary for it. I was doing the production, so it's on my channel, on my Twitch, and my YouTube if you guys want to see that. And then also, as always, the link to this website is going to be in the description so you guys can see all the top 32 for this event. But looking at the pie chart, we have 10 Dofis with, and then also 7 Katakuris with one of them taking it, 4 Captain Kids, 3 Laws, 2 Zoros, a Smoker, a Blue Dofi, a Crocodile, a Blue Crocodile, a Queen, a Nami, and a Emporio.
Ivankov.
Yeah.
What do you think of the representation of Dofi? Did you expect that much?
Not really. Honestly, I made a tier list Friday, or I dropped it Friday, where I think I put most of these. I think I put Zoro in tier 2, and then I put these ones into the the top 4 in here into tier 1. A lot of people are like, why do you put Trafalgar Law in there? I thought it got nerfed. Is it but
no,
it's
definitely not.
As long as Law and Bonnie exists, someone's gonna find a way to break it. To be honest,
as long as there's one drops in green and red,
yes,
they'll make something work. Not only that, because you knew that yellow is going to be there, or at least Katakuri.
Yeah.
It is a tough matchup sometimes, right? If you don't know how to play against Law as Katakuri, you're going to get rolled a little bit. So
yeah. Ironically, that was the finals, and Katakuri found it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. I was like, don't look at the first place though.
Yeah. Besides that, but we do also have the leader breakdown, which is really vital for something like this. So honestly, I think it was around 30% of Katakuri, which.
That's nuts.
Was just nuts,
That's
but also
nuts.
seemed low. Every other person I talked, I counted throughout the day, it was 14 to 14 or something like that, where people were playing either it or not. So I don't know if people who just talk to me were just inherently Katakuri players or not, but a lot of those around. But in a 194 Dofi, we had some Blue Crocodile, we had some Kids, we had some Zoros, Queen, Nami, Ace, and Law. So kind of representing in here, but you'll see the big switch between the amount of people playing Dofi and Katakuri, and then on the top 32 side too.
Yeah, just the transition or conversion rate.
Conversion rate, yeah.
And
so
I think just real quick, I did make a video on Katakuri, right? And one of the things I said was that people who played Whitebeard, who wanted a deck that it was consistent and you knew that you could probably talk with it if you're pretty good, right? And I think people transitioned over to Katakuri.
Yeah.
It was a safe pick. And this is exactly what it is. 376 of them.
Yeah, I think it was a safe pick for a lot of ways. And honestly, sure, number-wise, it was impossible to top. As soon as I kind of saw that, I'm like, okay, it's definitely topping this weekend. I think Dofi was probably the silent performer in the sense that people knew it was good. It was kind of good in the previous, but to see it jump to this successful in this event, I think was a big leap for it. Excuse me. And it also did top the Top Cut event. And won it the day previous, I guess Saturday, which was a one-day event.
Online Treasure Cup?
Yes, the Top Cut, so which you can also find on this website.
Whoa.
But, okay, we're going to go over the top placing list for each one of these leaders, starting off with our first place list. So we got Justin here with Charlotte Katakuri, and I'll be honest, there's not much different with this between pre-restriction list and post.
Yeah, no offense to him.
No.
Right? It's just this is what works.
Yes,
right?
yeah. And again, this is the first, again, a day 1 format. Do the safe thing. I think that Charlotte Cracker's been something that people took out at the beginning of this format, and people have been adding it back in. Smoothie is also a bit of an aggressive choice, so we can see that this deck is kind of more aggressive leaning with just how many cards can we hit off the triggers in life. But other than that, I'd say pretty generically what we've been seeing in a lot of ways. Yeah,
I can say that as well. I think it's interesting. I'm not a big fan of Shirahoshi, but I think people sometimes are banking on that trigger.
Yeah.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 triggers in here.
Yeah.
And that's a good chunk, right? And when you hit those triggers, and people talk about it all the time. If you walk up to someone who just played a Katakuri, they would usually say
that's the first thing they say. How many triggers do you hit? What were they?
Yeah. I just didn't win. He had a couple bases. in life, you know. All that.
And Shirahoshi, I do like it at like 2 or 3 copies because also does let you be like a little bit greedier on the top end. Obviously, Katakuri, the Shirahoshi back feels amazing.
Yeah.
And but the Struzen and the Amande too, you do need to discard cards with trigger in your hand for it. Sometimes it's Thunderbolt because you don't want to actually lose a life for it, but Shirahoshi's a good like second pick for that sometimes as well.
Yeah, and we don't see the other Sanji either, so it.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, this is what works. I'm cool with it. Cracker is such a really good card, especially with the decks that are a little bit more aggro. You can kind of punish them.
And it was terrible into Whitebeard, so Whitebeard not existing makes it a lot more viable too.
It makes more sense. So yeah, I'm cool with this. Get more bodies on board. Big Mom is still really good.
Yeah.
We're not gonna go into that. And I think overall Katakuri again is just that safe pick.
Yeah, and first win for the deck since conception, which is at least in North America, which is really
which got overshadowed. You know, everything got overshadowed by Whitebeard, but now you know this is the time for it to shine.
Yeah, for sure. And then we'll go to our next list. We've got Andres with the Uses Captain Kid, and honestly, just a lot of film this weekend between it and Green Purple Dofi, which we'll look at the next list after this. Yeah. But honestly, besides the the 10 drop, which I think has been added for most of the builds. What we've been kind of seeing, he did run 4 copies of X-Drake.
I was just gonna say that. I was like, man after my own heart. I love X-Drake. It's just not very applicable for a lot of different situations. So I'm wondering, what kind of matchups are.
Yeah, so honestly, this was not even a setup. I did talk to Andres. He did win one of the rounds, and I talked about it. And he's like, yeah, if you're playing against Green Purple Dofi, which he sometimes is like one of the harder matchups, or even like Zoro at times, or not Zoro, but Trafalgar a lot of times, like you just can't let their Nami stick. Right, so they turn 4, they attack with Nami or whatever, and you can just X-Drake it before they can restand it, before Union or something. So just like an unexpected removal for that, and it's a 5/6 you can play on curve. So
hey, I mean, cool with the mirror too. Like if you go against another kid or any film package, I guess the film package mirror.
And a Supernova and just kind of everything else. So this kind of makes sense for it. But
cool.
Yeah,
I like it.
We've been seeing this deck for a while. It was essentially since end of set 2, I would say. And I don't think it's Kid's just a broken leader.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's just not surprising, right? When you have a good engine, like Film is just a good, relatively consistent engine, and you have a consistent leader. You put those two together in a slower format. I'm not surprised that it topped.
Yeah. So congratulations to Andres for their they were the down pair the second last round to go X1 and get top 4 is really, really cool.
Right.
So, and then next up we have Joshua. So just the film packages right next to each other, and real quick. So this I think you kind of like this build a little bit more, right?
Yeah. I now like it after I got bodied by playing Katakuri. And I went against it. There's 2 different things. Well, I guess like there's a few really key pieces here. Yeah. So obviously Brook is a big one. Along with the 3-cost event card, the Onigiri style.
Yeah, Onigiri.
3-sword style Onigiri.
Yeah, and so I think this has been like one development I've seen strictly post-restriction list, and this also looks very similar to the build that did win Top Cut again, where it's more aggression. Like a lot of people are expecting the 10 drop, but this one doesn't play it, and you can attest that. There were times like I don't even like playing the 10 drop in film Dofi, like at the beginning of the format, and because it just sometimes just feels so dead and forced in hand, right? So
I mean, now in our top end we have Kaido.
Yes, which you love.
I love Kaido a lot. It feels funny because now you have Kaido, you go back to 5 Dawn, you still have the 2 to use your event cards. Which in this build we have Thunder Bagua.
Yeah.
You have it.
Thunder
Bagua, Spiderweb, and then Pump Gibson. So I mean, those are all standard too, all at 3. So yeah, I mean that combination looks great.
Yeah, and I'm like no guild, which especially since you don't really care to rush to 10 anymore. Yeah. I do like running the Queen because it's just more consistent. You don't feel as bad for playing it on turn 3 either, and. It's just definitely kind of how Dofi's going to kind of transitioning to in this format, and I think
only 2 Luffys, huh?
And only 2 Luffys, and one uses Captain Kid. So.
Yeah, the one is funny. Yeah, the one is funny. Obviously, you don't play it against blue.
Yeah, I am kind of surprised there's no Supernova Bonnie at least because we are playing 4 laws too.
Yeah, the 4 laws was interesting. I'm guessing it's to either play and/or protect your Namis.
Yeah.
And also play your 3-cost vanilla.
Yeah, I mean you can play Nami, and you can do something like you play Buena Vista, be able to get a card draw.
Yeah.
Use Law to bounce back and go into either and you get your 2K back. So I can see some kind of combos from there too.
It's pretty cool. A little bit of defense as well there.
Definitely. So congrats to Josh for their finish there. And then we have Zoro. This is Kevin's build, and I think we both independently said, man, this is a pile of cards.
This is something, huh?
There's a bunch of red cards on this screen,
Zoro list. Hey, that's fine because now Zoro players are forced to kind of evolve, and they have to find the replacements for Nami. They have to find Just replacements for obviously the Dan, but
Yeah.
also like have a good working engine. And I think a lot of people who are playing red are now transitioning to Whitebeard Pirates.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing for Law. We're probably going to see that as well. But you know, this is a very interesting list. We're coming back to the Marshall to Teach, which some people are you know, they moved away from it, right?
Yeah.
I haven't seen a topping list at least for Zoro with Marshall to Teach. And
Yeah.
hey, Zoro format, 4 cost, and we have a bunch of searchable targets.
Yeah, very good card. Like a little bit dead in hand, but again, when we need like a follow up to only having one of these Marcos, it's in a good spot, and just kind of everything else. And using more of the Whitebeard stuff, I really like Flamenco. It works well with Vista, obviously.
Yeah, I think that's more of the film package too.
Yeah,
because we're playing for Fire Fist, right?
The Whitebeard package, but yeah.
Whitebeard package. Well, against the film.
Oh,
package.
I see. Yeah.
You're using Vista with Flamenco, obviously with Altama, but now you have Fire Fist at 4, searchable, and as well as it just helps you to clear the board and just get you there.
Yeah, but I do think like you do lose a lot of consistency with the Dawn not being able to find Otama or Machina, which did get a lot of power for you and a lot of just strength in general. But anyways, this is a list for Zoro. Congratulations to Kevin for their finish there. And it's going to be interesting to see if Zoro continues to top, because I know a lot of people just trashed it.
I think in this format it should be okay. Maybe not OP05.
Yeah, we'll definitely see that in a month from now too. So anyways, we're going to go next to our Trafalgar Law. So this is Gerardo's, and this is he's the player who went to the finals. We saw him at the finals, but also the end of day 1 as well. They were on stream, and very, very kind of like what I would say almost standard list with just the Whitebeard package instead of
standard list with Whitebeard package. Yeah. Because I mean, we really didn't see Thatch get played, even though he is a conceptually really cool card for Law, right?
Yeah.
And obviously Vista is very standard. Machina is pretty standard for the most part. And we still have the Supernova package. So overall, this looks like a very consistent deck. Almost all of this is play sets, and not very surprising. You want some consistency, and you want really cool targets for Law. Yeah,
and this Thatch is really, really strong as well. I've seen a lot of people tech it. Not only is it like just a 1-drop, which you love lists having 1-drops to play out, but also like Izo can find a 1-drop that finds a 1-drop is still good in Law. Yeah. But the Activate main, you get to really bypass the effect with Law as the leader as well.
Yeah.
You buff it up, you play the restand, or you play this Law here, and then you bounce it back, you play something else. And
I mean, the big part, I tried this a while ago, pre-banless obviously. But Machino is a huge part of that, right? You use Machino, use Thatch, you grab it back with Law, you get the Machino, you play out whatever you need.
Yeah, and then you just get them right back, and
exactly.
So I am surprised there's no 5-drop Marco, just because it does kind of fit in the curve and the idea, because like
do you feel like it's just like the one-of curse, where you look at the one-of, why would I even play this? Like, whatever, I'll just keep it out.
It's a 5/6, right? You're not playing that many. I'd probably do it still. I'd feel
why not?
I'd feel
it's
bad
searchable,
anyways.
and it's still a 5.
But I mean, I guess like everything's like 4 of them, and then there's the Luffy, right? So maybe just couldn't. But I don't know. I like Haruta too, and like 3Ks
cool.
just got better because Marco doesn't exist as much either, so you can kind of play something like that and establish it. So. Anyways, this is Gerardo's list. Congratulations for their X1 finish for this one. And then we've got Smoker here. And a little surprised to see. This one did actually get X1. It was the last X1. I think it was like 14th place.
I was genuinely surprised. And genuinely surprised he's playing Shanks.
Yes. Yeah. So
that's so cool.
This definitely looks like more of like the Luffy package, right?
Yes, it does.
But they change it to Smoker. And but I think that's super good in its own way. But yeah, you can do like the combo of like you play the Kuzan. Kuzan gets everything -5. And then you can play Shanks. And you can even do it like one better. Because you can use Smoker's effect to make something 7 cost 6 technically, and then the Kuzan makes it cost 5 or 1, and then Shanks. So,
right. The one of Isho, that's interesting.
Yeah, the one of Isho, which I think more people went greedier with Isho when I saw a list like this, just because like yellow usually kind of has a higher hand size towards the mid game. You want to try snipe out their big mobs if you can.
Yeah.
But the tempo from this deck I think is important. I like Kobe in this one. Like Kobe's better when, again, like Marco doesn't exist and there's not as many like low to the ground aggro decks to just trade with it for free.
And in all technicalities, when Marco doesn't exist or is less, black should be better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like less red decks are playing Marco, you should be playing black. But I have a personal feeling that I'm trying to think of like which matchups are worse for black right now. But hey, I mean,
I think it's honestly green, and like Kid can just really, because you can just bypass their blockers, right?
This is true.
So, but we also do have like I don't know how I feel about this card still. It's been out for like a couple, like 6 months, right?
If it had counter power, it's an auto include.
Yeah,
and I think it's I think it's definitely preference.
Yeah,
it's definitely preference.
But it can like get you back into the game, which I think is really strong, and some decks just really can't get rid of this, which is really funny. So. I think that's kind of that there too. So
Yeah.
anyways,
Super
not much more. I mean,
Great explosion.
Yeah, the great stuff for it. You get the -2 and then get the draw card, and you can kind of synergize with the leader as well. So
Not too bad.
there is that as well. So not much more there, but congratulations to Miguel for their finish with Smoker. And honestly, getting like Black hasn't had like a good like X1 performance in a long time. I feel like
I don't think.
not consistently at least.
Have you seen a Black deck top more than like in a month?
No, it's just yeah, it really cycles through. It's usually Luffy, but it can be any of them too, which is. Like Luffy, Smoker, and sometimes Lucci
and
as well.
This is very similar to Luffy, so it makes sense.
Yeah, honestly, if you just showed me this list, I probably would say, oh, you played Luffy, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But again, congrats to Miguel on this one.
Yeah.
All right, we've got a bit of a blue block. We've got Brian here with the OP01 Don Quixote Dufflet, not you. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we've got, honestly, and we can kind of talk about both at the same time, because in my mind, they're kind of like the same package overall, same like 30 cards, and then it's more of kind of like play style and what you kind of want to prioritize. So we have Sean's list here with the Star Deck Crocodile. And which one of these two do you like more usually?
I like Blue Croc.
Okay.
So I the first thing I was going to say about these decks, anytime that someone wants to play blue in general, it's I always ask like, what's your play style?
Yeah.
Like how do you like to play? And if they're more like a more tempo based or more aggro based, hey, try Blue Dolphy.
Yeah.
If you're more control based, if you try to want to not only do board control, but like how your opponent plays, usually Blue Croc is the way.
Yeah.
And hey, shout out to him. Man, again, after my own heart, Mr. Sean with the TP.
This card, yeah, I was good. We didn't even practice before.
I know.
I saw your eyes see this, and like you love this card.
I love the card so much, man. One of the first deck profiles I did for this is I auto included. It's just because it's just a funny card in the deck.
Yeah.
And because of Katakuri, sometimes Katakuri players love to look at their life, be like, oh, I love that, put it right back, and you play Trafalgar Law, and you just look at them and be like, hey, yeah, you don't get that trigger.
Yeah, exactly. I know that a lot of people have been looking at it for like Nami because they get big hand size sometimes, and you don't want to trigger their life, and Katakuri, again, as said. So
yep.
I think it is, honestly, I think this card is kind of good in this meta, and we'll kind of see what that is. Though, again, like people are kind of playing around hand sizes, I think, with Star Deck 10 purple, Trafalgar Law being around, but if you're a blue leader, it's not gonna be on their radar.
No. And the cool thing about these type of cards in blue is that you have Kaya, you have Soga King. These things can kind of cycle through.
Yeah.
If you're really desperate.
And the Gungam Rain, yeah.
Yeah, if you're really desperate, hey, Gungam Rain and as well as Sasaki can get you there as well.
Yeah, the only thing that sometimes I'd say actually usually we see 10-drop Kaido in a build like this too, like 1 or 2 copies, but where instead of deciding like the Don Quixote Doflamingo, which
I guess is film.
Yeah, it feels for it. I think it's probably like a worse Soga King, if I was to say it, honestly. Yeah. It hits 1 better, but if you play it on curve, it's always going to hit whatever your opponent just played.
Yeah.
And it gets to use a cycle, even though it's just a 6K versus 7. But
yeah,
I think as a 1-of, it's kind of fine.
For
and
sure.
then going to the actual Dofi, though, and not to just be contrarian, I do kind of like this build a little bit more, even though it is a lot trickier, I feel like. It does have like a higher bit of a ceiling, just in the fact that if you're able to, like, even like if you can't stack your deck, if you find the best card, you win, right?
Yeah.
Turn 1 like Gekomori as soon as possible. That feels really great.
That hurts.
Yeah. And I've been finding like a lot of decks are more tempo based right now.
Yeah.
And so they don't really have time to put Dawn underneath their leader to try to pressure anything. So having a 6K out feels really good right now.
Yeah.
I feel.
They're too busy playing other stuff, and if they aren't playing stuff, then they're going to be behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Dofi's great. I also think like it takes a better player than me to really pilot the deck to the top.
I would also agree.
Right. So like
for both of us, not just you.
Sure. I think it takes a lot of brain power, just like how Law is, right? And when you don't want to do that, you play a little bit of Blue Croc. And it's not to say that like a simpler player should play Blue Croc. Again, it comes down to that play style. If you like your brain to be functioning throughout the match, throughout the entire time, and you know what to do, Dofi's your way.
Yeah. And also just an ad of Marshall DT, which traditionally before this restriction list, I don't think was really popular.
Yeah.
But I think it has been great. And most decks do have like an obnoxious 3-drop now, right? We've got like Centaur has been really popular. We have
Pero
Sparrow. We have Nami.
All these 3-drops.
Yeah.
And this is why if you look at the Blue Croc list, anytime I ask someone playing Blue Croc, and sometimes even Dofi,
Yeah.
are you playing Zeph?
Yeah.
And Zeph is just good because now you have a 5/6 that obviously can get to 7 pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really need the Dawn effect like Nami, but
Yeah.
it is something that gets around everything that we've been talking about.
Yeah, and I think Zeph at like 1 or 2 copies is good, and just obviously you use Marshall DTeach in this one.
Yeah.
Because
This is better.
Yeah, it's for
That's
Dofi.
better.
So,
Yeah.
but that is that one there. So honestly, both congrats to both Sean and Brian for their finishes with these blue guys here, and then we got a half blue guy. We got Queen here.
Oh God.
And honestly, like I think Queen it's really impressive for it to top in this meta, just because I feel like net wise it lost more of its good matchups than its bad matchups. I feel like.
I mean, it was a good matchup against Whitebeard.
Yeah.
Like it was really the only outside of Rebecca maybe, but like it was a good matchup legitimately against Whitebeard.
Yeah.
And like in this format, I can kind of see with a decent player and decent planning, maybe going against the field of categories, right?
I would say that it is probably generally in Katakuri's favor though, because they get that burn damage, they get the big bodies out, and
that's what I'm saying. Like the blockers help you against Katakuri. The 10-drop big bombs and other like life manipulations definitely hurt you a lot.
Yeah.
And I think against like Film K, again, if we're talking about like the main scope of it, sure you have like Mihawk and things like that, and
you have a lot because you have 4 of each, which is the maximum you can run.
Yes, that's a lot. That is a lot. Yeah, it's gonna be a long, grindy game, and if you can find the pieces of the 4 offs for each one of these, a Dofi player is definitely a little. It might be a little sad.
Yeah, but I think like when you know people before this, right, the 2 decks to beat were Katakuri and Nami, right? I think those are the decks that people have been pushing. Maybe just my locals for Nami, but definitely Katakuri, right?
Yeah.
And that was shown. There's 30% of Katakuri, right?
Sure.
So, you know, 1 in every 3 matches for 10. So, is a really bad matchup for you? It's really tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
so, but you know, big congrats to Casey for their finish there. Running the pound too, which I like pound. I think this is more of a decision for this one. Also, no 3,000 worlds. Simply just using the Gum Red Rocks, which is interesting.
I can kind of agree with it.
Okay.
I can kind of.
I think the best target for 3,000 words was Marco, right? So like that being gone means you're less worried about it. But
less Marco, that's fine. Pretty much everything that Red Rock doesn't get rid of, your 8 and 9 drops get.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I
it makes sense. It makes sense. I'm not a Queen player, so I can't say that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't frequently play it, but looking at it and looking at the representation, it makes sense.
For sure. Well, congrats to Casey for their top there, and then you've got 2 more left. We got Nami here, which is not the build by like
still
10%.
It kind of still
or
is,
less.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's simple. But it has a couple cards that traditionally you don't see in the sense of we have the Nojiko, which I think is kind of you said when we're more tempo based. This just sets some players back an entire turn, which is huge.
Yeah, I played against a player. I forgot when, but it was they really wanted to play a 4/6.
And you're like,
really wanted to play a 4/6. And the things you can do, obviously Brick Fist, obviously Soka King, obviously like these other cards can get back to your hand.
Yeah.
Zev, you know, you just keep playing the Nojiko. So it's a really great card. Still has been. I think it's a little bit better when Whitebeard was around, only because they did rely on those 5 and 6 drops. But you know.
But and then also and Soka King, I honestly don't see this often. Like this is honestly like it does not top. I promise.
I'm sure it doesn't top.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like the Nami culture.
Yeah. Sorry. The hive mind that is Nami players.
I've seen Soka King in and out of lists. I personally like Soka King. I know I posted a lot of I haven't posted a lot of builds, probably on streaming, but like I like Soka King because it just gives you another out, and it gives you another body in case you need it, right? Because sometimes you just are looking at 5 and 6 bodies, and you only have your leader swing, and it just feels bad.
Yeah.
Now, if you protect yourself correctly, and you're in a good position to play Soka King, then you're good.
Yeah.
You should not be playing Soka King if you're in a bad position.
Yeah, I think it's fine for like a 1 or 2 of, and again, like in this format where I think tempo is more stressed than, you know, aggroing out. Like Soka King against Trafalgar Law, what's it gonna do? Like, you're gonna put their 5-drop Law back in their hand? Oh, thank you. Like, really appreciate it. Or like,
the rush.
Yeah, you're gonna put the Dawn back in my hand? Thank you. Like all of that, all of that, right? But in this meta where those are less common threats and more people are playing, like I think like the stacks, like this being able to bounce back, like again, like you said, like the film Nami or like there's a good amount of cards that are just kind of awkward.
Yeah.
It does buy you another turn, which is really great. And Mills too.
Yeah, Mills too. It draws you 2, it lets you filter things, and as well as it gets your stuff back too. So you can come back with a Kai Kaio or Nojiko or whatever.
Yeah. But close to the build, but I do appreciate it.
Hey,
It is
at least
not the build. And congratulations to Adam for that one there. And our last deck of the day, the one that I was very surprised to see,
I don't think anybody would.
Sneaking into 32nd.
I don't know how. I mean, no offense to him. Or
No.
I generally do not know how a person would play Ivankov in, what, 9 rounds, right?
10 rounds.
10 rounds.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, 10 rounds. Oh, boy.
Just another level of mind blown.
yeah. Just an extra round. Yeah, man. Like, it's actually crazy. I think maybe I'm really trying to figure out. I'm generally trying to figure out. Maybe Luffy gets you there.
It can. Like, Luffy's good. Again, it's. I mean, this is the blue block, right? Like, it's the last 5 decks we talked about are blue. Yeah. And all of it is the same thing. If my tempo is better than your tempo, and I can set you by, I get a lot of advantage for it. And Luffy is very good at that. And I would honestly say, like, obviously, Emporio is really, really bad against Newgate, right? Like, Newgate was a big bully for Emporio.
Yeah, I think people just kind of fell off of it after a while too.
Yeah.
Just knowing that it didn't top, it didn't really do much. It does take a certain type of player to be an Ivankov player.
Yeah.
You know, that it just doesn't fit the profile.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree. You know, you have so much utility in blue, and when you lean on the impel down stuff, where it's Crocodile, Luffy, Emporio at the 7-drop, it can at least get to a point where it's a little hard for your opponent to deal with.
Yeah, and I would say like there's an impressive amount of events in this build too.
Yeah.
Most of the time, like you just see a little bit. Like obviously, all of these are really desirable in their own rights, but to be running 13 events, that's a lot, especially when you need to get down to 0 cards to hand as consistently as you can.
Yeah.
But you know, you do have a lot of ways to discard cards and get there organically. And half these events are ones that you can play on your own turn too. But
yeah, I think the concept is just like Luffy kind of does that to you, or does that for you. You can remove things with this effect, right with double attack, and then just get rid of any cards in your hand that you know you don't need. So yeah, I get it.
For sure, and it's kind of like the same thing as Queen. Like you have a low hand size, but you're able to like cycle and help eventually grind out the win. But I think it's fair. Like if Queen could be doing good, this could be doing well as well. But 2 hand size against Zoro and Law is
it's hard.
It's tough. It's really tough.
I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I really can't. But hey, he got there.
Yes.
And if you are watching this,
I think he is. I know the guy. I know the guy.
Okay,
he actually introduced how. I think it's like. Oh, I'm so sorry. I think it's Pokemon Collectibles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on Twitter.
Gotcha.
But Adrian, thank you
okay.
for stopping by as well. But
for sure.
Very, very unique build for 100%.
Yeah, definitely. If you're watching this, hey, give us a turn-by-turn basis, man. Let us know
let me
know.
Let me know the 10 matchups.
Yeah, let us know so that way we can maybe get a little bit
more insight as well. But if you guys are wanting to see any of the deck lists, they are again on my website, Eggman Events. And if you guys want to see more One Piece content, you can stop here. But also you can go to the Stage 0 channel, which is going to be linked in the description as well.
Yes. If you guys didn't know, we did do the backup match. I don't know how much you guys actually went to it.
Yeah.
But all of the table 2, I hopefully will be doing the commentary for it. So if you are going to check out some more Piece content, definitely some gameplay.
Yeah, it was, and for the record, it was. I don't know what it was. People hated your tripod.
They
I don't know what was going on. Like
I think post round 3,
Yeah.
like I changed up everything, and I'm just not gonna.
People just like
first couple rounds
knocking it like. Neither of us were manning that second one. It was just there statically.
Yeah.
But it wasn't static because people just.
Yeah,
they
hated it, dude. It was crazy.
Yeah, so I look over there, the camera's completely skewed. I'm like, how'd that happen?
I don't know.
But anyways, make sure to check that out. And also the entire VOD for this event is going to be on my YouTube as well and re-uploaded, edited down. I'm saying Wednesday. I have to get home and not die. So like those are that is very, very hopeful. But I know you guys want
a whole drive back.
I know. It's 2 extra VODs and whatever. Well, I'll figure it out. I'll get there. Yeah. So, but I really do appreciate. I appreciate Core for doing this again. Appreciate also Risu and Human for doing the commentary event. Make sure to check them out as well.
Shout out to them for doing 2 games.
Yeah, for 2 games. Yeah, I as a favor they did Digimon for me, which I really do appreciate. So. But that is going to be really it for us. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you in the next one, and bye-bye. Start recording.